The experience of living.
David's army, specialists in throwing stones. An army is a group of military troops with the corresponding weapons and supplies, united in a body and under the orders of a commander. The military history of Israel focuses on the people who make war against the enemy, and a nation is powerful based on the number of its soldiers, the military training they have, and the weapons they use. The formation of the army of David, the anointed of God, is very peculiar. David is pursued to death by the disobedient and carnal King Saul, and he does not live a good time in his life. He lives in the midst of danger, loneliness, and sadness. And all the afflicted, and all who were in debt, and all who were in bitterness of spirit gathered to him, and he was made their leader. And he had with him about 400 men. 1 Samuel 22:2. Thus an army was formed, the army of God, which David calls the armies of Israel. They were people who carried a heavy burden on their conscience, tired and afflicted. They were not the best in society, in debt. They had no way to pay the debt. They had to be slaves to the debtor. Thus an army was being formed with fragile and helpless soldiers. David is a type of Christ, because those who are worked and burdened also go to Christ, and he has promised that he will give them rest. They followed him because they knew who David was and what his destiny was, even though they saw him afflicted and needy. With him they had a future and a hope, future. And these are the ones who came to David in Ziklag while he was still hiding because of Saul, son of Kish. They were brave men who helped him in the war. They were armed with bows, and they used both their right and left hands to throw stones and shoot arrows with the bow. 1 Chronicles 12:1-2. This is God's army. It is nothing like the armies of that time, or of our times. The armies that have more soldiers and destructive weapons win wars, and nations take censuses to define the power they have. David's army is made up of stone throwers, and it is not surprising because he was also an expert in throwing stones. Everyone remembered how he had killed the giant Goliath. And he took his staff in his hand and chose 5 smooth stones from the brook, and put them in the shepherd's bag in the sack that he carried. And he took his sling in his hand and went towards the Philistine. 1 Samuel 17:38-40. Then David said to the Philistine, "You come to me with a sword and a spear and a javelin, but I come to you in the name of the Lord of hosts, the God of the armies of Israel, whom you have defied." 17:45. Your experience. You are aware that the Church of Christ is made up of people who, like those who followed David, seek a future and a hope. You know that in this world there is no justice. The strongest subdues the weakest, and there is no peace. You know that a great battle is taking place between 2 armies, that of good and that of evil. You belong to a small flock, which under the direction of the King of Kings will fight the battle against evil. Surely in God you will always have victory. You belong to a peculiar army, one that does not fight with physical force, nor with iron weapons, nor by throwing stones.